Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Week 5 Phalanx uh, weekly overview. Um, Today, unfortunately, like last week, we only have 5 matchups instead of 7. Um, we had my matchup with Shark 11, which was unable to be played, and then we also had Nick's matchup versus Bosi, which was unable to be played. Wah is subbing in for Bosi, thankfully. And big thank you to Wah because he's taking over this 0-5 team. It's unfortunate for him, but we appreciate having a sub. And it means that we can, keep going, and we'll hopefully not any more forfeits the rest of the season. But it's hard to say. We'll see how things go. But yeah. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the matchups. So we will start with Amladude versus Trippy. Trippy got a win last week, his first win of the season against It's Just Me, who got Field of Punishment for not bringing nearly enough offense into the matchup. And in this matchup, we have a Parish Strap team with limited offense. Red Ice is actually on this team, which is kind of funny. But the I think the idea is just to Parish Trap and to kind of ignore the rest of the offense because the offense isn't necessarily as important as just doing the using Parish Trap. Parish Trap will work against everyone besides Dusclops here, so I think he can kind of rely primarily on that. But we'll see how he does. Fake out makes sense. Spore is really nice. He could have Terra Grass there, but maybe didn't expect the Spore. So he gets Burns a Sleep turn. Anything else happens? Perish Song comes out, and Rock Slide. It's no Fissure immediately. That's interesting. And then Body Press is great because now Sprinkle is dead. So it's Gothitail, and yeah, now Dialga, but we can double into Goth very freely. Probably just double Fissure, I would imagine. But we'll see. Fissure and Fissure. Okay, so that is unfortunate that they both miss, because now you can very easily just go for double protect. And Garganac or not long. Okay, interesting. They go for Fissure into, very interesting, a double Fissure into Dialga makes really no sense here. Just double Rock Slide or double into Goth. The Goth is definitely the one thing, so it's just probably just double Rock Slide. And Rock Slide here is actually really good. It into Terra Flying and the Fire Flying type. It's nice. Those are unfortunately 2 deaths. So it's Kyogre and Kyurem versus these 2 Mons, but this is a very powerful offense. So yeah, Ammo-Dude could easily lose this. He goes for a double protect. Probably Fusion Bolt and like a Water Spout or Origin Pulse, yeah. And that actually, I think this double up does actually kill both Mons, which is nice. Dragon Pulse into the Terra Ground was huge. And with Dual Wing, the Kyurem lives easily, so he's able to pick up a kill. That crit didn't matter. And then Origin Pulse picks up a kill as well. So it's Kyogre and Kyurem versus Goth. So this is actually a win for Trippy, which is a really good start to this set. Going up 1-0 is obviously the best way for you to start. But I think I think Amladude should learn from this that Spore needs to be used more often. It was only used once this game, and I think it was a 1-turn sleep, so really didn't do a whole lot. Perish Trap worked, and so probably using that more is important, and then also just making your offense, a little more potent. Another sorry. we see an adaptation already of Screamtail instead of Smeargle, and an immediate Perish song. So the fissure into Screamtail doesn't actually make a ton of sense, but I think probably just double Rock Slide makes the most sense here. And instead it is a double fissure, and the fissure is disabled. So that is really unfortunate for Trippy. He's got to like learn his lesson of just click Rock Slide with both, especially into the flying type. And this actually will do a lot of damage, but he went for fissure. So I don't know why he's just so committed to those open moves. I think it makes a lot of sense to just keep clicking Rock Slide, and a double switch is really brutal. We probably will see a double Rock Slide, and it will do a lot of damage to Smeargle, but he'll live still. Not a whole lot to Dialga, but a Rock Slide would have done a lot more in the Terraflying Golf. So I think this game is really Amladude's to lose at this point. And probably just a free Perish Song. Yep. Dragon Claw comes out, but it would have been neutral anyways. And then Water Spout picks up the kill, but the damage is dealt, and there's no way for Amladude to lose this now because he has 3 Mons. And that's how Perish Trap works. If you have enough Mons left, you can just click Protect every turn and win. So a double Protect is probably coming out here. I kind of expected a double Protect this turn, but with the Fake Out, it makes a lot of sense. A Switch and Protect instead of double Protect is interesting. But I guess you just want to preserve Dialga and guarantee the win still. That's fair. And now probably Protect Switch or something along those lines, but it is a Protect or Disable Switch. Interesting. And Rock Slide does little damage, and then Water or Ultra Pulse is disabled, so it picks up the double kill, and all of a sudden, it is now 1-1. So Amladude's feeling a lot better now that he has a win under his belt, and now it's kind of anyone's game. That Perish Trap worked really well. This lead worked really well, so he's going to go for it again. Adapting by bringing Dusclops is good because he can't be Shadow Tagged. And please just don't click Helping Hand Explosion turn 1. Okay, and there's a double Protect, so it would be really bad if he goes for it. But he goes for Heavy Slam and Nightshade, not Trick Room. He could have got a free Trick Room up. Against this team, like, you're probably a lot slower on most of your Mons, so yeah. A Disable, if it's Heavy Slam instead of Explode. Oh. He already double protected, so Helping Hand Explosion actually makes a lot of sense here, because Dialga is the only possible switch in that's resisted. And then you can probably kill Goth, or kill something. So he doesn't go for it. And then Encore. Oh, it's a Choice Banded Metagross who can't switch, and so he goes for Heavy Slam, which he can't use because of Disable, so he just struggles. That's really unfortunate. And now probably a Disable on the Dusclops is my guess. Or Protect. It's fair. Should do a little bit, not a ton. 30%. Yeah, it's a little less than you'd like to be doing. It's a Disable coming from the Screamtail, which really is not fun because you wasted Helping Hand on that. And if it's an Encore disabled, then that's even worse, and it is. So he's really just getting screwed by Encore disable, and he can definitely switch. I mean, Gothitel's nowhere to be seen, but he's just choosing to stay in and to struggle for no reason. So this is really, really poor play right now. And once again, he just chooses not to switch whatsoever. So Kyogre goes down, and just really poor play. Kyurem comes out, and with Perish on, that is game over. There's no 25% is terrible damage, by the way, into Screamtail. I don't know how it takes that little. Probably just bulky Kyurem Black instead of physical and bulky Screamtail. So that's absurd though. And struggles, and probably a struggle this turn as well because another Encore. So basically neither Mon can do much. No, instead it's a switch, but it's already game over. So really at this point you're just trying to help the KDR of Dialga, or you switch just because. Probably because she's expecting a Nightshade, but yeah. Anyways, it's game over, and a very disappointing loss for Trippy after going up 1-0 to start. I really thought he could take down Amlo Dude, which would have been crazy. The literal last place team defeating the undefeated like Tyrant. That would be ridiculous. The Paris Trap strategy losing to Oka moves. But unfortunately, not a single Oka move hit the entire game. He didn't really go for many. But when he did, one of them was a double up into a Terra Flying Dialga, which was already Terra'd before he clicked Fissure. So like it wasn't like he just didn't predict the Terra. Like the Terra was already happened. So really, really unfortunate gameplay by Trippy here. Definite Field of Punishment contender after that performance. Most of the time it's like, oh, well, he used a lot of Oka moves and he got unlucky. So, but here it felt like just almost every play went wrong. Of like choice band Metagross into these guys was unfortunate. And just being so susceptible to Encore Disable and not switching, and yeah, it was rough. But anyways, let's move on to TBL SMB, and you'll see SMB made some significant edits to his team. A knockoff immediately. Wow, Charisma eats that surprisingly. And Dragon Tail comes out to stop Trick Room. I like that a lot. It's a cool tech. Terra Fairy, probably just, yeah, for the knockoff or the Ghost Stub attack from Giratina. And Meteor Beam doesn't do a lot because of the Terra, so that was a good play. And nice protect there. SMB is playing pretty well so far. And Discharge with Telepathy is a nice combo. Also, Phantom Force instead of Shadow Force is interesting. Shadow Force, I believe, is Giratina's signature move. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's a little better. Because the Phantom Force is just a normal move. And then the Torch Song into the Thunderous picked up the kill because of the Terra Steel. So, and Trick Room comes up. So right now, if you're SMB, you started out like in a pretty decent spot, but now you're in a lot of trouble. Yeah, Interdum's calling it out here as well, the Shadow Force. And so he hits to protect and do a little bit of damage because Phantom Force does. And then an immediate switch from Typhlosion just to get Intimidate out pretty much. And the Headlong Rush immunity is really nice as well. And a Torch Song into the resisted Giratina. Unfortunate. Dragon Tail doesn't make a whole lot of sense there. I guess you just want to get Ursaline off the field. So it makes sense. And we'll see. They're just talking about Shadow Force over here. So the Bomb picks up the kill, which is very nice. And another Dragon Tail switch out doesn't make a whole lot of sense, honestly. Because you're just going to send him out anyway. So it's like, maybe that's his only good attack and Ursaline. I don't know. But that's just a double up. And SMB dies. Thankfully, he has Typhlosion out of Trick Room, though. Which, wow. Picks up the double kill. And then Necrozma is just going to die as well. That is significant damage from Typhlosion. That's game. Very impressive, honestly. I think Typhlosion's really underrated. He hasn't been making the most of him at all. And so to see him be used like this is really cool. And to really sweep that rest of that game. That was really nice. Probably, we know it's not Life Orb. Probably Charcoal or Specs on the Typhlosion. And Terra Fire. Wow, this could do a lot of damage in Sun, too. That's got to be Specs. I mean, that's insane damage. A double kill instantly on both. And then, wow, this Typhlosion is strong. I mean, to be fair, your Terrifier in Sun stab is probably Specs. Probably max special attack, if not just 252. So you're expecting to lose that, or to do a lot of damage, but like, that's insane. Wow, SMB just overpowered him. That's... If you're at TBL, it's like, what do you even do? I mean, you have no Terra Waters or Terrifiers. So you can't really do a whole lot to stop that. I mean, you had Skeletor, but even still, he took 93% from that. So it's just really unfortunate. Feels bad, honestly. Let's move on to Crump versus Screwbite. I'm sorry to not give as much commentary, but I do have to go a little bit faster tonight. So we see a Drizzle come out on Politoed just because you want to get Rain up for the mods at the back and just stop these guys. But a Terra Water in front of Regieleki is bold. I get you want to live Walking Wake, but still. And then a Weather Ball. I like Weather Ball. That's a great bring on Walking Wake. It's really good in this matchup because, you know, you're good in Incineroar. And if it's and Gliscor if it's raining, and if it's sunny, then you're good into Zacian and Arcaludon. So, and then you're neutral in the Eggerpon as well. So, sorry, what? Did I just see a Perish Trap from Politoed? I think Screwbite did this before, where he went for Perish Song. But last time he did this as well, I think it was a few weeks ago. It was with also with one Mon Fainted. And the problem of clicking Perish Song with one Mon Fainted when you're not trapping the opponent, and they have 4 Mons left, is that if one of your Mons dies, the other one's just dead to Perish Song, and they can just switch both, and then you lose a Mon for no reason. Like, and then they can double the Mon that's left, and it's just a 4v1, and that's just not a good idea. So Electro Web comes out. If it's an attack in either one of these, they probably die. And yep, Draco picks up the kill, and now Politoed is dying to his own Perish Song fairly soon. Weather Ball does a lot, but doesn't kill crucially, which is really, really rough. Whoever's getting sent in is not happy about that. Zacian is not, because now he gets undersped, or he can just double protect for some reason. I guess you want to try and kill both these guys to Perish Song, but they can both switch. So I'm expecting probably Regieleki to stay in and then a Walking Wake switch, but nope, it's just an Electro Web, and he does sack both just to get off a lot of damage here, which is, to be fair, he gets off a lot of damage. And Play Ref is unnecessary, and Weather Ball is also unnecessary because they both perish, but that's fine. If you're screwed by you are screwed though because of that. You are screwed by and yeah, you just die. So you can protect, but then you die. And yeah, that's hopefully he would have learned his lesson from last time he clicked Perish Song in a really bad situation with Politoed and caused his own Politoed to die because he only had 3 Mons left, and his partner was killed because he was in a very susceptible position, meaning that Politoed killed himself, and it was left in a 1v4 or 1v3. That's exactly what happened last time, and the same thing happened this time. So, really unfortunate that he would make the same mistake several times. And we also saw Perish Song not do anything besides Politoed. It didn't kill either Mon. That was Zacian and Politoed. So really, Perish Song didn't do anything. It didn't even add any pressure because he didn't even switch. So I don't know. Don't really get what that was about, but it's okay. Hopefully he learns his lesson in this matchup. Screwbite versus Crump again, and Arcaludon lead and Illumise lead. Illumise can go for Sunny Day, which is crucial because it gets rid of that rain. So leading Politoed is not so it's great. He does Encore him. Maybe he was thinking Tailwind. Encore to Sunny Day is fine. It just means he's gonna keep setting up the sun for you. So, or a switch, which makes a lot of sense. Politoed switches out, which makes also a lot of sense. And Terra Water Weather Ball. Terra Water, so you live the Draco, and then Weather Ball because you're in Sun, which is neutral. I get. Makes decent sense. And Draco Meteor doesn't kill because of that Terra, thankfully. And now you can do quite a bit of damage to either one of these guys. You went for. Oh, it is Booster Energy, Flutterman. That's good to confirm. And then Weather Ball would be great into Gliscor here, and Flutterman clicking anything does a lot of damage. So just a Moonblast and Weather Ball. Weather Ball because you thought it was like Arcaludon. That makes so much sense. And then Tailwind comes out from the opposing team, which is actually really good because we know that there's no photosynthesis besides on Flutterman with the Boost Energy, which goes away instead of which goes away after a switch out. So Flutterman is kind of trapped on the field somewhat. If he wants to keep speed boost, and it's just to protect on 3 Mons here in a Weather Ball. Interesting. I think you want to kill Flutterman, obviously, but just Walking Wake needs to go. Koraidon comes out, giving the photosynthesis boost to Wake, which also switches out. So I'm trying to preserve both. Earthquake comes out, but does a lot to Politoed as well. And then a Weather Ball does very little to Koraidon. So not a great play by Screwbite there. And protect an Encore and a Weather Ball doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so you can just go into the Mise. Yeah, and then Flutterman later. That's okay. Prankster Tailwind makes a lot of sense here, but he just doesn't go for it. So a Flare Blitz, which he recovers a little bit of, and Struggle Bug to weaken him is actually kind of nice. But I should expect a Politoed switch here. That makes a lot of sense to preserve him, and you get to bring back out the Sun, especially if you kill Koraidon with a... probably Protect here makes so much sense. Yeah, and then you can switch out into Politoed to make a the Weather Ball's Water type, so Station is no longer getting hit super effective. Unfortunately, Koraidon can switch back in later, but if you go for a Steel type attack here, then Flutter Mane just dies. And he doesn't predict it, but he still kills him, so that's actually fine. Only problem is now Walking Wake is Photosynthesis boosted, it outspeeds Zacian and can pick up a kill with Weather Ball. And Politoed just dies to a Wild Charge, which we learned Koraidon already has. So this is actually really good prep by Crump. The Weather Ball, I mean, is not an uncommon bring, but it works well here. Wild Charge from Koraidon was really nice into this team. I thought Olumise really didn't overstay its welcome. Sunny Day was crucial was crucial to get Politoed off the field, because that way you know he's coming back out later. Didn't capitalize on it too much, but it meant that Politoed was not as healthy for later. Struggle Bug was nice, kind of forced that Politoed switch even more. And the Encore didn't really do a whole lot, but it could have done a lot more. So I actually liked the Illumise set as well. Only one we didn't see in this matchup was Necrozma, but Necrozma commands a lot of respect on its own. So even still, it's an important part of the team. And yeah, I think Regieleki served its role really well. Screwbite didn't play too poorly by any means, but I think Crump just had really great prep here, and the gameplay was very solid. So, but I think the prep really carried him. Citrus Berry Koraidon was nice. I like that. And Walking Awake did so much damage. How long did he live at 6%? He was at 6% here, and then here, and here, and here. Wow, he just really survived, and was a problem. You have to shut down Walking Wake, and Screwbite couldn't. I think some priority would have been nice from anyone, really. Ogerpon might have been nice in this matchup, just because it's a Mon that can just do an insane amount of damage with those IV Cudgels. It can OHKO Fluttermane, it can OHKO Regieleki. I believe he gets Play Rough for Koraidon. It can not OHKO Walking Wake, but if it has Play Rough, then that's great as well. Illumise could probably OHKO with Ivy Cudgel, and Necrozma, still a problem, but he can get knockoff as well. So it would just have been decent here, and it didn't show up in either match. Or maybe it did. It just clicked Spiky Shield and then died. So that's unfortunate, but yeah. Anyways, let's move on to OK versus It's Just Me. It's Just Me coming off of Fields of Punishment. Actually, back-to-back Fields of Punishment weeks, which is not great, especially when the main critique was not having too strong of offense, and you have 4 dedicated support mons. The only thing is that Oranguru is kind of an attacker in the sense of it allows its partner, either Chiyu or Groudon, to attack again with Instruct. So it's basically another attacker. And then Groudon and Chiyu are obviously the big attackers on this team. It's great to see Chiyu being brought, because you need to bring Chiyu on this team. You just really don't have a whole lot of offense, so you have to bring the offense you do have. And Chiyu is a great, insanely strong Pokemon. I mean, these two, a super strong physical threat and a super strong a special threat, complement each other very well. So I like to see this improvement. It's Just Me and OK running kind of the same 6 mons that they've run almost every week, I believe. I don't know which other mons they've brought, but these are great 6. They didn't bring Conkeldurr against me, even though Conkeldurr has been their MVP. Lunala actually has been their MVP. Conkeldurr has been a great value pick. Has done far better than expected. But Lunala has been a real problem, especially Terra Fairy Lunala, which is being brought again. And Torkoal, especially with Eruptions, could really feed off the Sun team. So I'm excited for this Sunroom versus Sunroom matchup. A Chiyu Sableye lead immediately means a Snarl could put in work here. Only 1 Terra Fairy across the board, so Snarl does a lot to Indeedee, and lowers special attack of both, no Covert Cloaks. Meteor Beam should pick up a kill on Chiyu though and set you back to neutral, so that's unfortunate. And then Indeedee just dies to the knockoff. Indeedee dies immediately. That's actually really good if you're it's just me. And now Torkoal comes out, but he has to click protect almost guaranteed. And Lunala might. No, Lunala does not. So free Trick Room means Torkoal is in a great spot, and a switch means who's got it goes down to Sash, and Lunala can finally pick up the kill. So you really just sack him from not a whole lot, just to get Groudon back out in the same position. It's got to be AV Groudon because he's taking nothing from those attacks, and a miss on Lunala is really rough. And then Groudon faints, and that's game. Okay, very dominant win by OK to start. Indeedee dying is actually kind of good for you in some situations. Usually you want to get Trick Room up first, then have Indeedee die. Indeedee die. But Indeedee just did nothing here. Thankfully, Lunala was just so bulky that Torkoal was completely able to just click protect, and Lunala was able to win. So, if that were Chiyu and Groudon, then Lunala would not have been able to click protect, or Lunala wouldn't have been able to click Trick Room there. But the Meteor Beam kill was big early on, so we'll see the adaptation for game 2. Whimsicott Chiyu lead instead of a Sableye Chiyu lead. And the same lead from OK. A Moonblast to break the Shadow Shield, so a Heat Wave does more damage, but it actually doesn't do a whole lot. A Snarl might still make sense, or a Switch, because we already know Chiyu dies immediately, which is a neutral Meteor Beam, not the +1 neutral beam. So it's unfortunate. Oranguru comes out, which is a great adaptation because Oranguru is really good. Allows Groudon to do a lot more damage. And he picks up the kill on Lunala, but no, he doesn't die during Indeedee because Indeedee comes up in hand. A switch makes sense because you want to preserve Groudon, or Protect would have made sense, honestly. A double Protect would have been better. Maybe Groudon isn't running Protect. I don't think we know if he is. He's just clicked Precious Blades every time. And I believe he's AV anyway, so it doesn't matter. Oranguru comes out and reverses the Trick Room, which is really good for Groudon in this matchup because Precious Blades comes out. Follow Me does nothing. He probably just didn't have anything. I think Helping Hand Heat Wave makes the most sense, and we already know he's not choiced. So Instruct comes out, though, and it doesn't matter. So Torkoal does go down. And that means it's Comfey versus the World. So if you had protected on Torkoal, that would have been great because Comfey was able to heal. Makes it a little more reasonable, but doesn't matter because either way you really lose to this double up and get out sped. And Draining Kiss we saw didn't kill. A crit on Draining Kiss would have been really the only thing that saved him here because Instruct would have gone into no one, and then you pick up a kill on Oranguru afterwards. But that's, I believe, a 132 chance. So, I mean, you can't expect the crit to win. So, it's a correct play by OK, even though it's just an RNG play. Because you know you've lost at that point. So, Groudon Whimsicott, a third different lead is interesting. And a Lunala Comfey, so we do see an adaptation by OK. Tailwind comes out, which is crazy because this is a Trick Room team. Trick Room matchup, and Comfey and Lunala both have Trick Room. So, Meteor Beam comes out, which is odd, probably just for a special attack increase. And then Trick Room does come out on Comfey. So, picks up the kill on Whimsicott, and Groudon's gonna have to eat a Moongeist Beam at +1, which is not ideal. And a miss is really bad on Lunala here. You want to get him below half. The Comfey does go down, thankfully. Conqueror comes out, but he's not burned, which is actually ideal. Clefairy goes for Protect into the knockoff, which is really nice. And a double up into Clefairy is interesting. We already knew that Moongeist Beam picks up the kill on Groudon. So I think a Moongeist Beam would have made a lot of sense here. Maybe he expects to switch into Oranguru. Maybe that's why he doesn't go for it, but I think that would have made a lot of sense. And your Terra Fairy. So I think your Moonblast probably would have picked up a kill on Groudon too. So going for the Moonblast and a Clefairy doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But interesting. And the knockoff in a Clefairy is also interesting. I guess you want to get rid of Eviolite. The Protector is actually huge there. And Lunala avoids the Precious Blades again, which is huge because Lunala probably would have been, if not knocked out by now, would have been close to it. So that's really unfortunate. for It's Just Me, and the knockoff is successful, and the Moonblast comes out, but he lives at 2%. This is where you just go for Moongeist Beam. We already know it does 58%. We already saw that. So on a low roll, I mean, you still probably pick up the kill. I think it's a guaranteed kill at this point. Moonblast does a lot of damage, but doesn't pick up the kill, but Precipice Blades will. And we see Precipice Blades do 38, so if both of those other Precipice Blades had hit, then this would have been the finishing blow to Lunala. But unfortunately, it is not the case, and here we will see if Groudon is something other than Choice Band or AV. I think with the damage he's doing, he's probably just AV. But he's only clicked Precipice Blades so far, and this will be a kill on Groudon, probably. No, a Helping Hand Moongeist Beam and a Clefairy is crazy. I don't know what he's thinking, honestly. If you kill Groudon, then it's Clefairy and whoever, probably Chi-Yu. Ideally, for It's Just Me, it's Chi-Yu in the back, but like, either way, Groudon outspeeds at a Trick Room, so I don't really get this play at all. And Clefairy goes for a double protect, actually, which is interesting. Groudon goes down. I don't know why Clefairy was setting up for it, but it doesn't matter because Chi-Yu picks up the kill with Dark Pulse. So that is game. That was a significantly better performance from It's Just Me than in any prior week. He did have a handful of misplays, moments where he didn't take advantage of like the great situation he was in, and he let and then he also let Trick Room just get up several times, which is not ideal when you're playing against a hard Trick Room team. Now, he is also a Trick Room team, so it does make somewhat sense. The only thing is 22 speed is slower than your whole team, and 45 speed slower than your whole team. You got to run something like Iron Ball if you're expecting to underspeed. So I think maybe he was just waiting for Trick Room to expire both games for Chi-Yu to come out, but I don't know. Either way, still very well played by It's Just Me, and if you're okay, you have to feel a little bit bad just because you had Trick Room up, you had like +1 Lunala several times, you got a little bit lucky on the RNG with Precipice Blades missing, and you still lost, so that's an unfortunate feeling. Especially when you pick up an Oko and a Chi-Yu on the first turns of both games. But anyways, let's move to our final matchup. Again, unfortunately, Nick and I believe S&B were not able to play. Or no, not S&B. Nick and Bosi were not able to play, and Bosi has now been replaced with Wah because Bosi forfeited the last 3 weeks. He had a lot going on, but still, we definitely prefer a sub to someone who is unable to play. So right now, Wah will be making up those next 3 matches. But unfortunately, the last 3 were forfeited, so there's not much we can do about that. And my matchup was forfeited by Charcoal as well, which is really unfortunate. I was looking forward to playing because I wasn't able to play last week, but it's okay. I now have a fraudulent 5-0, so that's fun. Anyways, it is Eternum versus Void for our last matchup. And I don't remember who won this matchup at all, so this is going to be a fun experience. To a ground and follow me, and then a flinging the Salic Berry. I mean, you break Sturdy, but why would you... Maybe it's because he's expecting a Trick Room, so he wants Ogerpon to outspeed in Trick Room, and then Iron Crown can... Maybe that was into Calyrex too, to make Calyrex faster, and then the Flash Cannon into Calyrex as well, but just to follow me made him both target Ogerpon. I think that's probably what happened. And then Trick Room does come out, and so does Palkia. So this is not a great spot, especially with Room Service Palkia. I like that tech a lot. If you're on my Voids, be proud of that tech. It is just to protect, to block the high horsepower, which makes a lot of sense. And Hydro Pump comes out and doesn't do a lot of damage. And Final Gambit doesn't either. You do 36%. It's unfortunate. And if you do 36% while you're at 36%, I know Final Gambit is based on the damage of like the health you have left, but I think that means that Annihilate would have just killed Calyrex if we were at full health, so that's unfortunate. If Hydro Pump missed there, this game would go very different. Terra Water works really well here because the double up of ground type attacks. And then he is able to pick up a kill on Calyrex by just doubling into him. So no protect from Calyrex, and a double up into the Terra Water is really unfortunate. I think doubling up into anyone that you know probably has protect is interesting. I think, especially because you saw Iron Crown protect literally the turn before, you know that he is a free target. Probably just go 1-on-1. You can high horsepower still in Zamazenta if you want, but just use one of the ground time attack into Iron Crown. Probably makes a little more sense. Does not go for that, unfortunately, and a Dragon Pulse into the Protect, and a Fake Out into the Protect. So another double up into a Protect. So even though Zamazenta already clicked Terra Water, doesn't mean he clicked Protect, so he's able to protect this turn, and Psyshock gets off quite a bit of damage. So it's really unfortunate plays, and that's a bulky Zamazenta, but he does go down to a double up. And almost like Valium. Iron Crown picks up the kill on Iron Hands as Trick Room ends, so Palkia does probably just go down here, which he does. So if you're Turnham, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself, in the sense of like you outplayed him very hard with that Zamazenta especially, but just good performance overall. If you're Voids, you just can't be fooled so easily. That's kind of like the thought you take away. You got to play a little bit smarter and use that Calyrex more. Calyrex didn't really do a whole lot except for click 2 unsuccessful high horsepowers. So let us now watch the Drifloon and Mute. Wow, 4 Mons that we didn't see all of last battle. Literally the 2 Mons left behind on both teams are now the 2 leads. So it's very interesting adaptations. An immediate switch in front of both Scrafty and Talonflame is interesting because of both knockoff and Flare Blitz, but no, he gets a free switch into Chen Pao, which is actually pretty good. But he goes for Protect instead, which makes sense because Flare Blitz, yep. And Trick Room comes out actually, which is great because the opponent does have Tailwind up. And Imprison comes out, which is interesting. I'm not sure what he's trying to protect against, but the Flame Body gets a burn, which is interesting. And now Talonflame dies to his own Flare Blitz, and Scrafty will not be able to Dragon Tail. Probably. I'm curious as to why this Scrafty keeps clicking Dragon Tail, because it's not like Mewtwo or Zamazenta is a better matchup here. But okay. Maybe to protect Calyrex in the back. The Sucker, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You have 1 turn left of Tailwind. Probably just click Protect on both, honestly. But Glacial Lance comes out and almost kills both. But there is a Sash. And a Coaching here, as Trick Room is reversed. Wow. Here I think Protect Coaching would have worked really well, but this is a fine play. Here you gotta go for Protect Trick Room. Or not Protect Trick Room. You can go for either Trick Room Coaching, or you go for Protect Coaching. But either way, you gotta click Coaching here, for sure. It is high horsepower says a lot, and Dragon Tail. Pick up the kill on Group Room, I guess. Because he is imprisoning Trick Room. Okay, I guess that makes sense. And then Helping Hand instead of Coaching, I am not a fan of, because it's a little riskier of a play. Maybe just so you can pick up the kill on Zamazenta, but if you go for high horsepower, you know that you do anyways. If you go for Glacial Lance, maybe that's what your thought process is. But I think you Coaching and probably Protect here just to scope him out, because you're probably not getting targeted into Scrafty. But a Will-O-Wisp is pretty rough. It is Lumberry. Okay, interesting. And it's the highest power under Protect. So you didn't need a Helping Hand, as we already saw. He did high horsepower into ×2 defense on Zamazenta. He probably was expecting another Iron Defense. But this is just a really unfortunate play. And he doesn't go for Coaching again. He goes for another Helping Hand. Which, now that he's burned, doesn't do nearly as much. If I were Voids, I would have definitely gone for probably just Coaching both times. Then you have a ×3 attack, ×2.5 Calyrex, which is great. And you can pick up the kill already. But instead, you probably just get doubled and die. Or the Dark Pulse in the Scrafty must be a misclick. I don't get that at all. Maybe it's your only way of dealing damage in Scrafty with Mewtwo. But in which case, why wouldn't you just switch who you're targeting? I don't know. Coaching does come out as Trick'em comes up, finally. But coaching makes a lot more sense than helping hand for the most part, most of these turns anyway. So another helping hand where I think coaching would have made more sense. He goes at 7, and Calyrex goes down. So if Calyrex had had those coachings, he would have had enough damage to kill Mewtwo and secure the set very easily. But thankfully, Trick'em is up and Iron Hands is the last. Oh, Iron Hands is the last means this is game over. Because Scrafty is able to pick up a kill, and now it is game over. So the Drain Punch crit probably did matter, honestly, because it means that you're doing 18%, which you probably wouldn't do with times 3 defense, but I don't know. Anyways, it's a nice win for Voids there. Not the way you want to win necessarily, like losing Calyrex and making several misplays, but it's okay. Talonflame and Scrafty, and Timothy comes off into a Defiant, which is interesting. I want to see what Annihilate does. He goes for Rage Fist, which doesn't do a whole lot, but a double up picks up the kill. And a missed Dragon Tail is really nice because you're already times 1 attack. So Calyrex probably needs to protect here or Terra Ground. Or both. Wait, why would you? So this is something that Solo did last year. He did it a lot, actually, with Skeledirge. Every time Skeledirge was sent out, he would click Terra Fairy immediately, even if he went for Protect. Spoiler alert, if you are clicking Protect, never click Terrestrialization. Never. Unless you're against an Urshifu, I guess, or an Iron Boulder. But if you're clicking Protect, do not click Terra. Because if you click Terra and click Protect, then you're revealing what Terra type you are. And so anything that might have fooled your opponent, any like Dark type attack or Ghost type attack that would have come out, is now he knows that you're going to be a ground type before the turn. So it's just really disadvantageous for you. It makes no sense to do that immediately. I mean, maybe you expect like later to switch in Calyrex into an attack, in which case now you resist it instead of being neutral. But if you're going for coaching, then you probably don't want to switch Calyrex. So it really almost never makes sense to go for Terra Protect, and this really is just not one of those exceptions to that case. So you waste your Terra. Maybe Terra Ground is good for you, but now is definitely not the time to click it. I get not wanting to go for Trick Room while you have Tailwind up, I guess. Even though both of these guys do outspeed still, almost definitely. But don't go for Terra. That's just, it feels like a rookie mistake, honestly. It's unfortunate. Final Gamut comes out into the Protect, which is nice, but the Terra still doesn't matter. And now he only takes 10%. But you could have clicked Terra this turn instead of last turn. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Thankfully, you don't get punished too much for it. And a Dragon Tail does come out. So does Trick Room. That was I don't know which of these things was misclicked. Probably Rage Fist if I wanted to go for a Final Gambit and do probably Oko and Calyrex, which would have been crazy. But instead, Glacial Lance comes out, making this Final Gambit much weaker. So that's unfortunate. And then a Drain Punch picks up the kill. So now it is a 2v3. I'm crazy. Never mind, it didn't matter. I don't know why he said that, but okay. Anyways, a Protect, probably a coaching makes sense here. Yep. And a Flash Cannon comes out. And then High Horsepower, no Terra. He already did click Terra Fairy, I believe. So he can't go for it. But it's really bad because the double up. Oh, it doesn't kill, actually. That's huge. Because now you pick up a double kill. If it's Iron Hands, it doesn't matter, but it's Palkia. So this could easily matter. If you go for Protect on both, then it's a very different game. Yep. Now it is -1 Palkia versus both of these guys. And I think Body Press plus Side Shock picks up the kill. And yeah, it definitely does on Palkia. And so that's really unfortunate way for Voids to lose this matchup. It's just felt like that if that Drain Punch had killed, then it would have been a very different story. Because you have drink much kills, and you have Scrafty left at full health, who I don't think has. Sorry, we see Scrafty here. We know doesn't have Protect, but can go for an attack, and we have Palkia, so we get some damage off an Iron Crown at least, and then Iron Crown can only attack one, and probably can't do any meaningful damage into Flash Cannon, Side Shock, Protect. Other three moves revealed. But probably can't do any meaningful damage into Scrafty, so that could be a game over. So that's really unfortunate if you are Voids. It feels like you just didn't really take advantage of Trick Room, of Calyrex. You didn't bring Iron Hands except for, well, you brought him here towards the end of the game, which is nice, but like you just didn't use Iron Hands as much as you should have in this matchup. I think he's very clearly a good end of this matchup. I mean, you do have Mewtwo, right? Who's good into him. Iron Crown is somewhat good into him, but still takes neutral damage at least. Drifloon eats a electric type and ghost type attacks, or sorry, dark type attacks. So knockoff is good into both of these guys, and fighting is good into Chen Pao and Zamazenta. So I think that he could have been used more, and overall, just didn't feel like very clean gameplay from Voids. It's not exactly what you're looking for in like a game. You're trying to, or in this kind of matchup where you're up against a very fast team. Naturally, you can see how everyone here, like the slowest person is 92 speed or 85 speed minimum, and you are much slower than that. Clicking Tailwind isn't necessarily the play. I think going for Trick Room makes a lot of sense, but you got to do it right, and you wasted a lot of helping hands instead of coachings, and you attacked and protect a lot, and into Terras, and it felt like not great gameplay from Voids. He did actually have some. Like, I think game 2 was pretty good, especially because you had Iron Hands in the back, and this was almost good, except you didn't pick up the kill, so that's unfortunate. Maybe that's a roll, but either way, it could have been better play, but I think we can definitely roll him out from Fields of Punishment contention. I don't think it was really that bad a play. If you're okay, I mean, it feels bad losing to the guy who got Fields of Punishment 2 weeks in a row. But that being said, it's just me played well. If you're okay, you feel like you played decently well. I think you had Lunala still be a major threat, picking up 2 Okos into Chiyu. You had Conqueror being somewhat of a threat, but not nearly as much of a threat as you'd like. You had Indeedee not doing as much as you'd like in most games. Torkoal putting up big damage, but not as much as you'd like as well. It's just, it was fine. You didn't play great, but you got outplayed, and especially with this crowd on Oranguru, that combo should have been brought more. It shouldn't wait until week 5 to use a very straightforward combo of instruct plus press displays. I feel like that's very just kind of standard. Like, makes a lot of sense. Instruct is kind of the whole shtick for Oranguru, but he hasn't really used them, so that's unfortunate. But he used them well here, so I wouldn't give it to okay either. Screwbite had a handful of plays that were very questionable. If you watch through a little bit of this matchup, sorry. I think the Terra Water here makes no sense, really. I mean, I guess you just want to, maybe you're not expecting an attack from Reggie, like you expect like a Thunder into Politoed, I guess. It's the only logic I can think of. Here, the Perish song is really bad. This just only hurts you. Only hurts you. Perish, especially because you already kind of learned that lesson. Makes it even more devastating now. It just hurts even more. Salt in the wound, really. And then a kill on the Ogerpon just kind of sits there and dies. You don't have enough offense to kill, and you're gonna die to your own Perish song after stalling it out. And not even using it whatsoever. You just eat a lot of damage and then pick up 2 normal kills. So like the Parasong does nothing for you, and then you put yourself in a losing endgame. So if I'm screwed by it, I feel like I have to adapt game 2. And then what does he do? He just doesn't adapt game 2. So we can see Sunny Day is really bad. You led Politoed against Umise, which you did last time. And it worked. So I guess you're trying to do it here. And you also wasted Terra Fairy. Here's the Terra Fairy. Would have made a little more sense, or it's fine for you. But she's kind of in a bad spot. Again, you eat a lot of damage here. Thankfully, you don't take as much there, but and you get a Tailwind, which is nice. But he's able to get a free switch into Koraidon a little bit later, like here, which really messes things up for you. And let me see as well, you do a lot of damage. You do 40% to your partner, and then Weather Ball does no damage whatsoever. Another Protect, and you just get Encored into Weather Ball, which is fine. It just means you can't do a whole lot, especially to Koraidon, which is a problem. And it kind of forces you to switch, and now he's just Arcalon's just a sitting duck, and you're in a losing endgame now as well. So if you're screwed by it feels like you just set for both games. You set up Koraidon and Photosynthesis partner up to win this game very easily, which is not what you want to go for. In a battle of opposing weathers, first of all you want to have a manual setter, almost guaranteed, whether it's Prankster or not. Illumise is great here for that, but you don't want to ignore the weather. The only real thing you had was Politoed, but you led Politoed, meaning you can't switch in Politoed. So I think I kind of expect more prep into opposing weathers. A Weather Ball is fine, but like you run Weather Ball and Politoed every week. I mean, like that's his water type attack, and if you're against fire types, it's still a good option. So it's like that's not really that much of prep. Gliscor had an interesting set. I guess the dual wing bait was for Koraidon, but it didn't really end up doing anything anyways. So sorry, and then the Parasong is really poor play. I think Screwbite is definitely a contender. TBL pretty much just got screwed by. Like, he played actually decently well this game, except he just got screwed by Trick Room ending and then Typhlosion sweeping. So, and then there's Trippy. Ooh. The difference is that Cromp was able to 2-0 and Amlodude wasn't. And Trippy actually played pretty decently. Game 1. Except for this play where he goes for a double fissure into a flying type, which is like, what are you doing? And then you only now Rock Slide, which is just very poor play. Here you end up winning because you just have more offense, but sorry. Here the Encore or the Disables are really killer because he just keeps trying to use moves he can't, and then you die to Parastrap pretty easily. I think also game 3 is the worst gameplay overall. You get disabled under your Choice Band Mon, and so you just have to let him struggle, which sucks. And then Dusclops is also Encore in the Helping Hand, a partner that doesn't exist right now. So you have to force to Helping Hand Kyogre, and he's able to protect, I believe, yep, to bait out the Disable on the Origin Pole. I don't know if he's Specs or not. I think he was Wikiberry. But Kyogre is just a sitting duck here, really. And he Helping Hands him when he already knows that we have an Encore. He already literally clicked Encore twice this game. So he should have switched. I think this is like a mental Gothitelle, bro. Like Gothitelle isn't actually on the field, but he feels like he is, and so he just doesn't switch when he easily could. So I'm sorry, Screwbite. You did play. You did have a lot of misplays, and I don't think you had a very creative prep. But thankfully, you avoid Fields of Punishment because we have Trippy this week. I think honorable mention to Screwbite. Screwbite's a great player. I think he got Elysium last week. He really has high potential, but he just didn't prep nearly as much as or well as he should have. It is going to Trippy this week, though. With all that being said, Trippy definitely deserves it. With just this is not peak gameplay. You gotta go for Rock Slide into flying types and not 2 ground type moves into flying types after he already terra'd. You really gotta switch if he has Encore Disable on you when he doesn't even have Gothitelle on the field. I mean, like, this is just not what you'd like to see. And you win game 1, so just do something somewhat similar, and you don't go for it. So, that will be a Field of Punishment for Trippy. I think it's his first, which is actually surprising. But I will give it to him. Especially because like your main strategy is just spamming Oko moves. Not only do you not go for it, you fail at any like normal strategy. So it's and the Encore Disables are really just killer. So you can't let one simple tech just ruin you utterly like that. As far as Elysium, again, I'm sorry to be rushing this so much. I just have to wrap up fairly soon. So for Elysium, I think S&B is a great contender just because of this eruption. That being said, he had a few misplays. I think I want to highlight the good plays he had, though. If you look at, like, Fast the Knockoff, it just makes a lot of sense, right? You knock off power, making that Meteor Beam 2 turns, and you Dragon Tail actually out. I forgot about that. You Dragon Tail away the Frigoraph, meaning Trick Room does not come up this turn. You go for Protect, which is great because, and Terra Steel. So no matter who Meteor Beam is aiming at, it's not doing a whole lot. It does come out into the Thunderous, who only takes 40% from that. And then the protects him against the Shadow Ball, and you know that Shelter doesn't have Trick Room, so Necrozma literally can't trick it and click it this turn, so you're not losing anything by doing it. The Telepathy Discharge, I do like that play a lot, and Phantom Force is like fine. You do die here, but I like this idea of like you have Landorus, and you turn out. I think that's good. Because now you can switch in Landorus and you bait the Headlong Rush, which you are immune to, so you get the Intimidate and you live, install another turn of Trick Room, and you get a Dragon Tail to switch out Ursulina, which is great actually. Giratina does thankfully live. I think that is probably because of some investment, and you pick up a kill. You also Dragon Tail out Frigoraph, which I don't know. Maybe you were trying to get out Necrozma, but I'm not sure what that's about. This is unfortunate for you, but it's actually fine because you stalled turn Trick Room, and it's much better than switching out Typhlosion, because now Typhlosion is able to just sweep. So you really... Typhlosion sweeping is just like because he's a good mon, because you have lots of special attack. But because you know you outspeed everything, you can just run specs and be fine. You set yourself up well at game 1, and... Game 2 was actually really well played as well, I believe. He just... Oh, never mind. He just clicked Eruption every turn. He used Sunny Day and Eruption, which kills both, and then it almost kills, and then yeah, he kills. So, I kind of want to give it to SNB, except Game 2 feels a little too simple, a little too easy. Game 1 was pretty good, though. I want to watch this performance by Cromp again, just because I feel like it was pretty good. Electro makes a lot of sense here, and Weather Ball. Because that way, if Gliscor terras, then you kill him. If Gliscor doesn't terra, then you kill him. Because he dies. To the Weather Ball. And Politoed takes a lot of damage or protects and doesn't. But his partner dies. So either way, that's a good turn for you. Unless he goes like Terra Grass, Politoed, which still doesn't matter a whole lot. Like Regieleki lives Weather Balls, we learn later. So this was a great turn 1. Turn 2, Makes a lot of sense, honestly. You just want to kill Ogerpon. I would too. And then you also lower Polytoad. He wastes his turn by going for Perish Song. And then you just make the same play because it's the right play to make. Now that Ogerpon can't protect, I mean, the only thing is that now that you've already gone for Draco, you might expect to switch into Zacian. But he doesn't switch, actually, so this works pretty well. And then Weather Ball doesn't even kill. So you are now in a situation where you can protect and use just Electro Whip to make Zacian now slower than Walking Wake. Makes a lot of sense, honestly. You want to make Walking Wake faster than Zacian. But instead you just do this, and you get off some damage at least before dying, which is the correct play. And now that you know that neither can protect, you should go for Zacian because he's lower, and Polytoad dies anyway. So you're completely fine with sacking both these Pokemon because you have a Koraidon Flutter Mane set up, and now you can win. You can stall it one turn with Protect, but otherwise it's just game over because Koraidon has Flare Blitz, which is a good bring. Also, I think Wild Charge was a really good bring. If you watch this matchup, you can see Sunny Day makes a lot of sense, and you really punish him for leading Polytoad. Protect there was great. You go for a Terra to live this Draco, I believe, which is also great. You get off a lot of damage, which is really nice. And Flutter Mane is now sent in, has Photosynthesis, and if you switch up the Draco target, then he lives as well, because it's Flutter Mane. Water comes out, but you have Booster Energy, which you reveal, and Walking Wake is still a Water type, so that Stab Weather Ball, and your Terra Water, so you do even more damage with it, which is, again, great prep. And a Protect here actually makes sense, so double Protect, because you kind of want to scope out what he's doing. So I'll turn a Tailwind, just makes a lot of sense here. And now you're able to get a switch into Koraidon, activate that Photosynthesis to outspeed if you want it. Instead, he decides to preserve Walking Wake, which makes a lot of sense as well because Tailwind's still up, and you want Tailwind to not be up when Walking Wake's out. And you also, at the same time, you simultaneously predict the Weather Ball on Koraidon. So Polytoad's out of position, Koraidon's in great spot to be in, and Tailwind's about to end. So you're fine with Omise dying here, even though he doesn't. So you're in a great spot. Koraidon can just pick up a kill on Gliscor as well. And the Protect blocked the dual Wing Beat, which would have been good into you. Struggle Bug makes, and the Encore makes Polytoad really just a sitting duck. He can go for a kill in a Walking Wake, but at -1 special attack, if he's stuck on the field because a Flare Blitz kills Zacian, then you're just in a terrible spot. So you either want to protect Zacian and keep Polytoad, or just switch Polytoad. So you force him to be in that situation, which he does switch. But you're able to pick up a kill on Archaludon because of that, with the Wild Charge, which meaning it would kill either way. Wild Charge is the correct play because no matter what he does, you kill. And then you switch into Flutter Mane to preserve Koraidon and to set back up the weather, which is definitely the play. Even if you sack Flutter Mane, it doesn't matter because you have Weather Ball, and Sun Weather Ball picks up the kill on the Zacian. So I think this helps confirm that this is less of a Fields of Punishment for Screwbite and more of just an Elysium for Cromp. I think I do believe Screwbite did not play to his best ability here. Trippy definitely takes the cake, but if there were only 4 options, I would go to Screwbite. And given all the options, I think Cromp deserves the Elysium. I think that setting up the weather is huge in Weather Wars. If you have a Sun team versus a Rain team, and you lead your Rain Mon, and your opponent does not lead the Sun Mon, then he's able to abuse that fact. And just with this constant switching, Koraidon was able to be a huge threat here, which we didn't actually see Koraidon. Like most matchups, Koraidon has just kind of not done nearly as much as you want him to do, and it's been Flutter Mane or Walking Wake or Necrozma that's been the real threat. But here, Koraidon really put in a lot of work in the matchup. Flutter Mane and definitely Walking Wake did a lot of work too. Walking Wake was huge, but I think the prep was really great by Cromp. I thought his gameplay was great. He really punished Screwbite, and Screwbite, like, he didn't play, honestly, too poorly. It was mainly just Cromp played really well. So, with that being said, our Elysium goes to Cromp, and our Fields of Punishment went to Trippy. Um, so let's look at our standings, if it'll let me. There we go. We can see that I'm in first, but I cheesed it. From those 2 forfeit wins, I should not. Ammo dude. I mean, he has a much higher KDR, but that is also because I've not um, been able to play the last 2 weeks. If you get kills, it obviously helps your KDR. So Cromp and Charcoal have much higher KDRs than their record suggests, just because of that fact. They both forfeited. Cromp, SMB, and OK and Charcoal are actually all now 3 and 2. Oh, and Nick, sorry. Meaning 3 through 7 is really anyone's game. Thankfully, Amlodude and I have a little bit of a cushion because we would need to lose 2 games to be back on the same tier as everyone instead of just losing 1 game. With that being said, I have some things I want to point out. One is that Wah still theoretically has a chance to make playoffs, I believe. Maybe not because of the matchups, and just because he started 0-5, but I think he either way he can make a little bit of a push. Other than Watt, I think everyone else is just like still a somewhat of a contender for playoffs. I don't think Watt realistically is. But if you look at like Trippy got his first win last week, not this week. If he plays a little bit better, like the Fields of Punishment was not ideal. But if he locks back in like last week, he already showed that he can win rounds. So and he's willing to try things other than Oko moves. So if he's able to kind of make his team work, then I could see him, making that kind of a push for that bottom spot. TBL as well. He actually has a lot of good good mons on his team, and he's played pretty well in a lot of matchups. It's just he makes a lot of careless mistakes, and I think that those are really costly. So if TBL or Trippy can make the bottom spot of playoffs, they gotta really lock in for that to happen. With It's Just Me, Eternum, Voids, and Screwbite, I could see any one of these guys making a push, not only for playoffs, but to be kind of more comfortably in playoffs as well. A tournament, It's Just Me getting their first win in a few weeks. And Voids with a really, really strong team. Started 2-1. Unfortunately, he has not been finding as much success, but he has a super strong team. I think he can easily lock back in and turn things around. And it's just Screwbite picking up a loss this week, but showing so much strength last week. I believe again he got Elysium. I'm not positive, but we can see that Screwbite and Voids are both only -1 in terms of sets, or in terms of games. In a tournament, It's Just Me aren't too far behind, honestly. I think any one of these guys could not just stay in playoffs, but move up a little. Then with these 5, 3, and 2 guys, we know one of them is making these top 3 guaranteed, or almost guaranteed, unless one of these guys makes a real step up. But I could see it being anyone's game. I mean, Nick started 0-2 somehow after Game 3 was extremely dominant. He played really, really well. And I forget his week last week, but it was also great. And then we saw him, or maybe he got a forfeit win one of these weeks. I think it was this week. But either way, he is actually a great player. So I could see Nick easily making playoffs. I think he should make playoffs, honestly. Okay, has struggled in a few matchups, but against Charcoal Oven, he showed a lot of grit, honestly. I think he played really well there. In his first 2 matchups, he played really well. Super strong team. Conqueror's scary. Lunal is extremely scary. So I could see, and he hasn't ever had a matchup where it felt like Fields of Punishment worthy at all. So I think he's definitely a very solid contender. Truck 11, super scary team. Unfortunately, had to forfeit this week, but he was 3-1 before that and did start out 3-0. So he's got a really good team. Caloric Shadow Rider is super, super scary. And we just saw Cromp with his great gameplay. SMB too. They both were contenders for Elysium. And SMB already has Elysium this season, and so does Cromp now, if not his second of the season. So both these guys, very strong teams. We will also see Charcoal Oven and Cromp because they got a forfeit loss. They are actually better than their records suggest, and their KDRs are significantly better than anyone else at their record. Um, so we can see that these guys all easily could fight for the top three. If not moving into the top two if Amlo and Dude and I mess up. Thankfully for me, and for Amlo Dude, we will probably be the top two realistically, unless we lose 2 of 3 matches and one of these guys goes perfect. So I have to play against It's Just Me or Screwbite this week, then It's Just Me next week, then Voids the week after. So I'm playing against 3, 2, and 3 teams. But I still think that a lot of these guys are better than 2 and 3. Like Screwbite is definitely better than 2 and 3. Voids' team is at least better than 2 and 3. Even if he hasn't shown it last 2 weeks. It's Just Me just picked up a great win. So I think these wins or these matchups are not guaranteed wins for sure. I don't know who Amladude has to play necessarily. I think he has a very easy strength of schedule. I think right now, actually, if you check the strength of schedule, his is the easiest in the league, which is not to say he hasn't earned that 5-0. He's used Parashap extremely well. He's balanced it with like Dialga and Hoa very well. The only concern I see is like against a team like mine, which is just extremely offensive, or like Charcoals or like Cromps, any team that's super, super strong and hard hitting could pose a problem to his team because they can't sponge as many hits. Especially against like strong support mons could be a problem for him. Or like ghost types or Terra Ghosts. But no matter what, I think Amladude, even if he doesn't end 8-0, I think he'll probably end 7-1. I don't think he'll end 8-0, but with his matchups, it's hard to say. I don't think I'll end 8-0. The 2 forfeit wins make my record, my undefeatedness, feel significantly more fraudulent, especially because they were against Cromp and Charcoal, who are 2 great teams and 2 of the scariest teams in the whole league. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to finishing out this week, or finishing out the season. I do unfortunately have to go for college, like really the start of week 8. So I don't even know if I'll be able to do the streams. So this might be a third to last stream you see from me. But thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you're still rooting for me, or that you were rooting for me in the first place. Hopefully you are enjoying the season, or at least finding it entertaining. If not, you can watch the videos on my channel, talking about my matchups. I'm sure those are entertaining, hopefully. But thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week, where hopefully, now that we have a sub, we will have 7 matchups for all of you guys. Take care and peace.